The alchemy of memory, rewriting the past through rhythmic presence. When you remember something, you don't just retrieve it, you recreate it. Neuroscience has shown that memory is not a static recording stored deep in the brain's archive. It's a living process. Every act of remembering is also an act of rewriting. The neural circuits involved don't simply replay old signals, they are rebuilt. Rewired. The past is not recalled, it is reconstructed. This means that each time you revisit a memory, you either reinforce the emotional blueprint that formed it, or you transform it. If you return to a painful moment with the same pain, the same resentment, the same fear, you deepen the wound. You carve the groove deeper. But if you return to it with new eyes, with clarity, with softness, with detachment, you rewrite the emotional trace. The past does not change in terms of external facts, but something far more important happens: the frequency of the imprint shifts. The energetic signature is altered. This is not poetic metaphor. This is how consciousness operates in relation to time. Memory is frequency. And frequency is perception. Where it sounds "I can't" or "I don't believe" at this stage, you breathe, watching what in you wants to roll back, and you don't fight. You just keep your attention in the body. 6 breaths 6 times. Allow yourself to stay in this state. Even if the mind says nonsense, this is the point of choice to consolidate or roll back. Now you don't need to prove anything, you tune in. How does your body sound when it already lives in this state, as if the whole space breathes through you and with each exhalation? Repeat to yourself: I am this state. I am this purity. I am this flow. You do not program yourself. You simply become what already lives inside you. This practice is not a ritual and not magic to stabilize the frequency so that it does not disappear after inspiration, because any new state. At first it fluctuates, and only then it is lived in inside you, but you can change it without rejecting, without forgetting. And when you choose to sound otherwise, the past rewrites the trace in the present, not by logic, but by frequency. When you remember something, you don't just retrieve it, you rewrite the recording. Every time. This is proven by neuroscience. Neural circuits are rebuilt not only during events, but also during their recall. What you remember is actually created anew. And if you return to the past with the same emotion, you strengthen it, but if you return with new purity, you change the entire trace. When you look from the future, which has already healed at its past, that is when the real transformation happens. When you focus on the past, you do not remember. You are observing again, and if you change the frequency of observation, for example, the rhythm of 3-6-9. You change the past, you do not rewrite the facts. You enter another version of memory, where the feelings are already different, the energy is already different. You yourself are already different. That is why people often have different memories of the same event. The information imprint inside. This is a way to reconfigure perception to another line of reality. That is why the technique 3-6-9 does not work as the magic of numbers, but as an algorithm for stabilizing a new state. And when you direct attention not as efforts, but as a rhythmic presence, reality begins to respond, not because you forced it, and because you have become aligned with it. It is important to understand that you are not imagining a new version of yourself, you are living it layer by layer. When you shift your observation, not the event, but the state you observe it from, you enter an alternate version of that memory. A version where you are already different. where the energy around the event is already healed, already whole. This is why people can remember the same event completely differently. Not because one is wrong and one is right, but because each accessed a different frequency band of memory, a different layer of the past. And this is where the rhythm of 369 enters. The numbers themselves are not magic. They are structure, a stabilizing code, an algorithm that aligns your attention with a rhythm, and rhythm, when sustained with intention, changes state. Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." The 369 pattern is not a superstition. It is an embodiment of that secret. Used correctly, it is not about manifestation in the typical wish and receive sense. It is about resonance. When you place your awareness into a rhythm, when your intention is not scattered but pulsed, like a heartbeat, like breath, you begin to synchronize with a different timeline. A timeline in which you already are what you seek. Already healed. Already free. The key is to stop forcing reality and instead become congruent with it. You don't direct attention through willpower. You don't push it. You anchor it, in presence, gently, rhythmically, patiently. That rhythm is the access point. As if knocking on a door, not once, but 3 times. Then again. And again. Until the door opens, not because you broke it down, but because you became the one who lives on the other side. This is not about pretending to be a new self. It is about living that self, one layer at a time. Layer by layer, you embody the future that has already healed its past. You don't have to fight your trauma. You don't have to deny the wound. You only have to return to the moment differently. Because when your state changes, your memory changes. When your memory changes, your identity shifts. And when your identity shifts, your reality begins to echo that change. Not as magic, but as resonance. Not as effort, but as alignment. Not as imagination, but as remembrance of who you've always been, beneath the distortions. So if you want to change your life, don't just look forward. Look back, but look differently. Let the rhythm guide you. Let presence become the method. And watch as time begins to unfold, not as a chain of fixed events, but as a fluid spectrum of possibility waiting to be tuned into.